Hello, good morning. How are you today? I hope you're all very well. And here is our literature class for today. Okay, so today we're going to look at just one book. It's a very famous book. It's a very interesting book, and we're going to read a bit of it and talk about it. And I'm going to share the book with you afterwards. Okay. So, the book is called The Little Prince, or Le Petit Prince. What do you think it's about? Pause the video now and look at the picture and see if you can predict what you think it's about. Okay. Okay, so what do you think? Do you think it's a children's story? Do you think it's an adult story? It's actually for both. Let's find out a little bit more about it. And of course, it's about a little prince. So it was written in French. It's a modern classic. It's also called a fable, like a fairy story. It was written by this French author, Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, and he was also an aviator. He was a flyer. He flew planes, and the book is about that as well. He illustrated the book as well, and he published it in 1943. So it's on the surface, it's a very simple story, but there's a lot more behind it with all the symbolism and allegories that the tale is telling. So simply it's the story of a child, the little prince, and he travels around the whole of the universe. And he becomes wiser, gains wisdom. It's a short book, or a novella, a short novel. It's been translated into hundreds of languages, and it sold about 200 million copies. So it's a really, really famous, successful book. One of the best-selling books in publishing history. Okay, so shall we have a look at it? Right, here we have some of the characters. Before we look at the story, we're going to look at the characters. So on this slide, we have 5 characters, and then we have another slide of characters. Read through and tell your partner which of the characters do you think are the most interesting. Okay, so pause now so you have time to read and discuss. And if the print is too small, of course you can stand up and come nearer the screen to read it. Okay, pause now. Okay, so who do you think is the most interesting out of these characters? They all look interesting to me. So you have the narrator, who is an aviator, he was the flyer, and what he represents. You have the little prince, who is the main protagonist. He's the main character. And he's the personification of the fantasy world. And this is interesting. He is the voice of children in the adult world. So this story is comparing children's ideas and adults' ideas. Very, very beautiful. The rose, yeah, it's a stereotypical view of women, and it's supposed to be stereotypical. Let's see what happens to her later. There's the king on this star, asteroid B325. So the little prince is traveling all around the universe to all the other planets. This king has absolute power, but he doesn't have any people to have power over. So the little prince questions his power. Then on another star, we have the vain man on asteroid B326. So he thinks he's the most beautiful and most intelligent. But again, he's alone on his planet. And this happens a lot. Look at the last line here. The little prince remains perplexed. Grown-ups are certainly very odd, he thought to himself. So a lot of this is about children's world being logical and the adult's world not being logical. Very interesting. Okay, so now the next characters. Here we have 6 more characters, and I want you to do the same again. Read and discuss which characters do you think are the most interesting, and pause the video now. Okay, so which ones are most interesting? Yeah, so another 4 more planets. We've got, he goes to asteroid B327 and finds the drunkard. Again, see the little prince, the child, thinks this is very strange to drink. Why would you do that? To forget that you're ashamed of drinking. Crazy. Then we have the businessman on asteroid B328. He doesn't have any time. He's wasting his life. This is like many typical people we meet, isn't it? And the little prince is disappointed with grown-ups. Then on asteroid B329, we have the street lamp lighter. So the little prince likes him, but he's just following the orders. The geographer on asteroid B330 collects all the important information. The fox, so 2 animals here at the end. So the fox asks the prince to tame him. This is interesting. What is invisible is what is truly worth loving. True. And then the snake. And the prince asks for the snake to bite him so that he can return home. So you can see from these characters that there is a lot of symbolism here. Things represent different things in life. Okay. We're going to watch a little bit of the film now. As you're watching it, of course, on YouTube, we clips of films. I want you to think whether you would like to watch the whole film. This is the whole film on YouTube. So film, we've got a 2-minute trailer. Here's the little prince. Okay, sorry, it stopped working towards the end there. Okay, never never mind. Would you like to watch that whole film? Is it the sort of film you would like to watch with your children, maybe, or with students, maybe? Okay. Sorry. Sorry. There I am now. Okay. Okay, so we're going to read the plot summary now. We've seen a little taster of it. There are 3 slides now, which are the summary of the story. I want you to read the 3 slides and see if you can get an image of the story in your head. When you've read the 3 slides, I want you to talk to your partner about what it means. What does this story mean? Okay, so first slide of the summary. Pause to read this now. Okay. And now the second slide of the summary. Okay. And then the last slide of the summary. Okay, so now in pairs, I want you to talk about the story of the Little Prince and discuss, what does it mean? What do these things represent? Why did this author write this story? What does he want to communicate? Okay, pause now to discuss. Okay, what do you think it means? There are many different interpretations of this story. It's mainly about children and adults. Can you remember when you were a child and you thought everything was magical? And then we grow up and we become adults in the adult world and we forget all of that imagination and creativity. Well, it's a very good idea to go back to those childlike days and feelings sometimes, to return to our creativity and logic and the way we used to think. And look at the world we're living in and think how stupid lots of the things are. Okay. Here is an analysis. So this is some literary critics discussing it. I want you to read this and find out how people analysed it and how people enjoyed it. Read now and then tell your partner about the analysis and the reception. Pause now. Okay. So, how is it analysed? The analysis is, analysing it as grown-ups are hopelessly narrow-minded. Children are more open-minded and more willing to experience the world around them. So we have to actually follow children's ideas sometimes. Adults are not always right, are they? In the middle paragraph, it says about the critics, they were unsure. It was unclear whether the book was meant for children or adults. And it is both, because people can read it on different levels. What happened to the author? He died in the French Air Force while he was flying. He was very happy flying. And so they have compared it a lot to living in New York City, fleeing the war, the Second World War, and yeah, his wife as well. So there's a lot that can be related to real life around him. And it's a critical view of real life, modern life. Okay. Here is a little quiz. Now on this website, Britannia.com, there are lots of quizzes, lots of different books. See, even reading the book. Let's have a look. Oh, I can't get this. Okay, this is all the ad blockers on this. Here is the beginning of the quiz. So, Little Prince's first drawing. I think it was, what do you think, a rose? No, it was an elephant. Okay. Next question. What does the Little Prince first ask the narrator of his story to draw? What do you think? Sheep. What's the name for Earth on the Little Prince's planet? Oh, it's just an asteroid. Just an asteroid like the others. I'm not doing very well here. What does the Little Prince purchase while he's on Earth? Maybe roses? No. Thirst quenching pills. Okay. And where does his plane land in the Little Prince? I think he lands in the Sahara, in the desert. Yeah. In the earth. In Little Prince, with what does the rose defend herself? I would think it would be thorns. Yeah. Who does the Little Prince meet on the first planet? I think that might be the king. Yes. And where does the Little Prince realize that his rose is not unique? That could be in a rose garden. Okay, so we got 5 out of 8. This is nice to see little quizzes about books that we read. You can look at that site and find more online. Here is the next idea about the imagery in The Little Prince. So we have 4 things, main points of the story, and a discussion of the imagery around that. So we have the desert, the flower, the grown-ups, and the prince's death. What is the imagery associated with each of those 4? I want you to pause and read the slide and tell your partner. Okay. It's sometimes very interesting to see other people talking about the imagery in a book. You haven't even read it yet, I don't think. But when you do read it now, you're going to understand it more because you know about the imagery, the characters, and the story before you read it. The more you read before, the more you think and read about something, the more you know before you start it, the more you're going to understand. So this is an introduction to another online, these books that we're doing about them online. This site, for example, gradesaver.com, this is for English, British, Europeans online. So you've got a study guide here, you've got a summary, character list, that's where I got the characters from, themes, quotes, analysis, irony, imagery, all of these things. Lots more information and more quizzes here, essay questions. So this is a really interesting, useful site. Let's look at the metaphors and similes. Something as or like something, and metaphors are saying, making a direct comparison. So there's a metaphor about taming a fox. There's a simile about the pilot. Like a man shipwrecked on a tiny raft. There are the baobabs, my favorite tree. And they are a simile. Baobabs are not bushes, but trees as tall as churches. And this is, it could be related to the Nazis in their interest in spreading out in the Second World War. So again, it's making political comment. We have a metaphor of the prince as a lamp, the simile of the army. The movements of this army were ordered like those of a ballet. Okay, so please have a look at these, some of these websites like Grade Saver with some of the books that we're looking through, and it will explain a lot more. Right, your homework. And now for the rest of the class, I want you to spend the time reading some more of the book. I am going to send the PDF, and you can read the book. And if you have children, or to talk to students or any other neighbours, talk to them about the book and the ideas in it to see what they think. There's an error on my thinks. It should be think, of course. Okay, so that's your homework. Please read as much of the book as you can. I think you will understand it all now and be able to read it quickly because we've looked at the imagery, the summary, and the characters. An amazing book. Enjoy it.